Alright, so we have a fun one here. So it's Adrian Yanez versus Randy Costa. So Costa has a 2-inch height advantage and a 2.5-inch reach advantage. Break down the striking of these two where I expect, most of this fight's going to play out. So Adrian Yanez, he has a solid boxing foundation. I think Felder said it right. He reminds me a lot of Jorge Masvidal. Obviously, quite similar style. He does have nice hands, nice counter punching. He likes to keep the opponent kind of outside the two octagon lines near the fence and just likes to pick his shots from there. And Randy Costa, his style, he needs space. He needs space for his high kicks. Although I will say that he can flick the high kick up at pretty much any range. He's got very good dexterity in his hips, but generally that kind of style, it does need space. And Costa, he does like to fight long. He does mix in the head kick with his boxing combinations very nicely. I think the combination that he caught Journey Newsom with was the 2 to the high kick in southpaw. So through the left straight to a high kick in southpaw. That was very nice as well. If he's in orthodox, he likes the jab to the high kick. He's trying to throw one to the left hand side, one to the right hand side generally. But in southpaw, he goes both with the left hand side, which I think most of his offense does come from the left hand side from what I've seen. So he likes the step in wide left hook. His looping punches, they're very wide and he is very open when he is throwing these punches. And I think Yanez is going to beat him to the punch every time. Yanez, for the most part, he's throwing straight down the pipe and he's got fast hands too. It's just dangerous to leave yourself so open against a good counter puncher like Adrian Yanez. Yanez likes the slip 2-3. Very nice head movement in the pocket. He does keep his hands low in the pocket, but I think he has very good vision in the pocket, very good head movement in close, and I think that saves him quite a bit. But it's always dangerous having those tendencies and keeping your hands on the pocket, because it just takes one at the end of the day in mixed martial arts with the 4-ounce gloves. But so far it hasn't burned him his career so far. For Randy Costa, a tendency I've noticed with him is that when he's coming forward and he's taking very short steps, he's looking for a punch. He's not looking for a kick. He's looking to lead with a punch at least. So I do think he telegraphs his punches that way, just with his strike and entries, and they're quite predictable. You can see him loading up a little bit, but in general, he's off balance a lot. He seems like he's very, doesn't have the best understanding of balance, and he has that heavily planted wide base, and he uses upper body movement to avoid strikes. So that's just a recipe for getting yourself off balance. And in a game of inches, which this sport is, you just can't be off balance. You can't be losing your footing a lot, and you just can't do that against a sniper, someone who's looking to take your head off. So yeah, I don't think that's very good tendency to have, because when you're off balance, I'm just talking in general, when you're falling, one way or whatever, and you feel like you're off balance, what do? You go heavy on the other side and you try and, stay upright, or else you're just going to fall over. So that makes you quite predictable of where you're about to move. So yeah, that's another downside to that tendency. But yeah, I think I'm not sold on his chin either. It looks a little weak to me. It looks like he gets hurt a little bit too often for my liking. Also, just kind of covers up when he's on the back foot, when he's getting pressured. And Yanez, he looks to sit down on his 2 when the opponent's just covering up, and he does have killer instincts. So if he does get you hurt, we'll go for the finish. And Costa, I've seen him cover up a few times, and if Yanez starts sitting down in that 2, you better watch out. But Costa, he will start swinging haymakers when he's backed up. He'll put the high guard up, no high kicks anymore. It's just going to be haymakers from the left and the right hand side. It's like a caged animal. If you trap him against the cage, he's just going to start swinging haymakers, just looking to get you off him pretty much. He'll also clinch up, in the open. He'll look to clinch up when pressured heavily. And Yanez, he'll look to get the underhooks and then turn the opponent around. Dude has very good anti-grappling in general. And if he does end up on top, Costa's ground game doesn't look too good either. Tap to a rear naked choke with no hooks in from Brandon Davis. So yeah, not sure there. But yeah, how these guys win fights. So for Costa, he mixes in the high kick quite nicely. Seems to have a bit of raw power as well in the hands. for Yanez. He has good pacing, good cardio, good anti-grappling as well. How these guys lose fights, so for Yanez, he's a slow starter. I think he's finding his reads, trying to get his range early, but, you know, there's always a potential to drop the first round and then your opponent gets in a groove and, you know, you kind of just get out volumed, or you just basically have to win the next 2 rounds and you put yourself in that situation. But I feel like if he starts fighting 5-round fights, I think that'd be beneficial to him as well. But, you know, in the Lopez fight, he started pretty quick as well, and I guess in the Rodriguez fight as well. But on the other hand, Costa is a very fast starter, so, you know, you got to watch out for that. You don't want to be, you know, too relaxed at the start of the fight versus Randy Costa. For Randy Costa, how he loses, I have a few question marks around his chin. Seems a little weak to me. Also, subpar striking defense doesn't help. Question marks around his cardio as well. You know, fighting styles, not very energy efficient, seemed to be slowing a little bit in the Brandon Davis fight, and that fight only lasted like 7 minutes, so, you know, we'll see here. Past the victory for these two, so for Yanez, look to pressure him against the fence. Watch out for that 2 and then the high kick when he's in southpaw, because that's what he's looking for. Similar to how Robert Whittaker throws it, so yeah, watch out for that. Watch out for the high kicks at the end of a boxing combination, so always, you know, have the guard up on that side where you expect to be throwing, whichever the power leg is. So get your rear hand up on whatever side that is. Look for the counter 2 as his closing distance, and really try and sit down on it. I think you can put him out. And for Costa, take the front foot, you know, try and get your space. Don't let him just push you against the fence. Look to chain your combinations together. Try catch him as he's leaning back. And with your hands, like nothing looping. Keep everything straight. You don't want to be leaving yourself so exposed as you have in previous fights against Yanez. How I see the fight going, so Randy Costa, he gives opponents a very unique and unorthodox look on the feet. Like, he'll just flick up high kicks from any range and weird angles that, you know, aren't conventional in the slightest. Looks like he's frequently off balance, you know, but he just kind of flicks up high kicks still, even if he seems like he's off balance. He's definitely a tough and pretty confusing puzzle on the feet, but I think Yanez will be able to solve it. The pressure game of Yanez is going to make it hard for Costa to get space for his kicks, although I must say that he doesn't need much space to throw up his high kicks. Like, he flicks them up from any range, and it's quite impressive. Even at distance or in the open, Yanez has very good range control, so I believe he'll be able to avoid anything big that Randy is throwing his way, and, you know, kind of work or persuade Costa back onto the fence quite easily, and then just keep him there for the most part. And the fence comes up on you quickly in the apex, where I'll add that, you know, Yanez has fought, I think only once, maybe twice, but he's practically fought an entire 3 rounds in that environment, whereas Costa's only fought 40 seconds, and he does have that crowd pleasing style, and he does like have quite a big entourage that do follow him around in fights, it seems. So, you know, I wonder how he's going to perform without that crowd support, because he seems to be that type of guy that wants to, you know, please the fans and all that kind of stuff. Has a very entertaining style. So I'm just going to monitor how he reacts with no fans, and if the fight does get a little bit ugly. Yanez is much cleaner, he's much more technical with his striking. I think he's going to be tagging Costa a lot when Costa is trying to get in range for his offense. I think he's going to put his lights out with a counter 2 as Randy is closing distance. That's the gut feeling I have. But yeah, I'm not hugely impressed with Randy Costa from what I've seen on tape. I think he's overachieved a little bit since joining the UFC, and he's kind of catapulted himself into fights where I don't believe he belongs just yet. Obviously, you know, he's a young guy, he's very athletic, has a good frame for the division, so I believe he does have a very high ceiling, but he needs to iron out these technical kinks in his game before he moves up, you know, too much in the rankings. So yeah, like his what I'm talking about is that, you know, that loss to Brandon Davis. I think Brandon Davis is cut now, but, you know, he came out of the gates hot and then kind of slowed down from there, and, you know, Brandon Davis kind of figured him out. His last fight was that, I think, a head kick combination on Newsom, and, you know, Newsom's like 5'4", whatever, so the head kick's going to be there, but, you know, that's quite a low percentage outcome, you know, that high kick. You're not gonna high kick a lot of guys in the UFC and just keep putting them out like that. Who else? What was his last fight before that? Oh, Boston Salmon. You know, that guy just has no chin, so you can't really take too much about from that fight. But yeah, still the same tendencies, like show up every fight. So, you know, that's why I'm saying I'm not so impressed. You know, he has been getting great results, but just from what I've seen technically, it's just, I'm just not that impressed, honestly. And yeah, I think now he's being matched up a little bit too quickly with the prospect in Yanez, and I think Yanez is much better fighter. I'm definitely all aboard the Yanez hype train. Like, dude has sharps, he has sharp hands, and you know, there is always a small chance that Costa does land some meme KO, some meme high kick, but Yanez, he has that Mexican chin, and I'm not even playing. Like, Mexican chins are incredibly OP. You know, Moreno, Gaslam, Cejudo, Diaz brothers, Tony Ferguson, like, I could go on. Like, I think if Yanez doesn't snipe him early though, it's gonna go late, and I think he's gonna find a late finish on Costa. So I do think he gets the finish either early or late. But you know, Costa always has that chance with, you know, landing one of those high kicks, and he does seem to have a bit of power in his hands, but I don't give him too much of a shot here against Yanez. Alright, so hey guys, decent amount of work gets put into these videos, so if you could like the video, that would be awesome. That would help out a lot. You know, helps it get into the you know, the YouTube search suggestions and all that kind of stuff, so it really helps out a lot. Alright, so the prediction is Yanez by TKO in round 1. Maybe round 2, you know, he's a bit of a slow starter, but I think he deserves to be a big favourite here for the reasons I listed above. So I think there's still value on the line. I favour him around 75 to 80% of the time. So I think I'd bet Yanez even as low as $1.43 or minus 235 for like 1 or 2 units. If Yanez got back up to $1.55, I'd bet him 3 to 4 units. You know, if Randy has a good round in round 1, maybe I'd live bet Yanez. You know, seeing the price would probably increase. I think Randy's gas tank is questionable. So yeah, fight doesn't go the distance at $1.55 or minus 180. Costa, he fights like he never wants to see the cards in his life. He is definitely kill or be killed. I don't see this fight going the distance. So if that price jumps up a little bit, then maybe I'll bet that. Fight ends in round 1 at like $5 or plus 400 could be interesting as a bit of, you know, beer money or whatever. But yeah, I do like the Yanez money line. And the fight goes the distance if it gets to that price. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with the line. I got $1.57 or something like that. So if he gets up to that again, I'll probably chuck a few more units on.